Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary, and this is not David. So, Dave and I had dinner tonight, and he and Shelly just left, and he was a little tired. He didn't feel like recording tonight, so I told him I'd put a solo up. There's a lot going on. It's interesting. There's a lot going on, but when Dave and I are trying to come up with topics, it's not like they're really compelling to do a full read on. A lot of it is because it's repetitive. I mean, how many budget readings can you do before you get tired of doing them? And how many tariff readings can you do before you get tired of them? And so on and so forth. But those seem to be the things that are in the news cycle. So I told David I'd just do a solo and give him the night off. And we'll probably hook up again tomorrow and do some recordings. But I'm going to do just a little bit of a potpourri because there's a couple things going on that kind of caught my interest. So the budget, the big, beautiful budget passed the House by one vote, and it's now sitting in the Senate. And based on what I'm reading, it's definitely going to go through some modifications in the Senate. Not necessarily all for the good, because you've got some senators like Rand Paul that look at how much the budget deficit is going to grow as a result of this big, beautiful budget that was passed in the House. And it's like a complete non-starter for him. Others, they want different adjustments to the bill that came out of the House. Either more cuts to Medicaid, or different a different approach to the state and local taxes, SALT. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. But one of the things that's very interesting, Dave pointed out to me, was that Trump had a provision in there that basically neuters the courts, including the Supreme Court, where it's basically if someone stand by, let me get the right terms here. Okay, so basically there was a little hidden Mickey in this, a hidden provision in the bill that said that it limits the ability of the courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court, from enforcing their own orders. Quote, no court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued. So basically, what it comes down to is it won't allow the courts to enforce injunctions they make on Trump, or decisions they make on enforcing contempt citations on Trump for violations of their injunctions or temporary restraining orders, which is exactly what, unless the plaintiffs that filed the injunction or the complaint posted some sort of bond up front. And the Republicans want to get rid of this because this is how the courts have been thwarting Trump from, deporting people without their due process and violation of their civil rights and all these other great ideas that Trump's administration has been doing. They've been losing repeatedly in court. And so now what they're trying to do is basically take the power of the courts away and make it so that we could just ignore you and there's no consequence for it. I mean, currently there's no consequence for it, but at some point you think the court's going to sort of push back. Well, this is going to take away their ability to push back. So let's take a quick look at that. I just want to see in the Senate, is this something that is going to survive in this current big, beautiful budget, or is this something that's going to be neutered or taken out? Okay, foundational reading is the death card. Well, I guess that could be one of a couple things. I'm just going to put this right here. The death card, in this case, they could just kill it, or this is a non-starter for, certainly for the Democrats in the Senate, maybe for some of the Republicans. The challenge is the 8 of Swords, but the problem is there's no clear path out of this budget. There's going to be a lot of pressure put on the senators to get this budget moving forward, and they might not be able to kill everything, or if they leave it in, it's going to be it's going to be the end, the beginning of the end, and they're not seeing a clear path out because they don't have a backbone yet. Underneath it, you've got the Four of Pentacles. This is Trump and MAGA trying to get everything they can. Hoard all the wealth for the rich people. This is going to increase. This whole budget is going to increase the wealth gap between the very wealthy and the haves and the have-nots. Specifically, Trump wants all the power. Since we're looking at the Supreme Court, Trump wants to keep all the power to himself. The courts are preventing him from doing what he wants. In the past, we got the Four of Wands, celebrating our little victory here. Hooray! We got the budget passed, and we got all this weird legislation thrown in there to boot. Current energy is the Judgment card. I just gotta make sure I've only got one card there. Yes, I only got one card there. The senators are looking at this, and the voters are going to react. There's still a lot of MAGA people out there that think that this budget's no good because it's not balanced, and they only think balancing it involves deeper cuts. Punishing the poor people more versus, I don't know, taxing corporations and the rich people more. But this budget it's basically the Republicans are going to own it. Whatever happens with this, the Republicans are going to own it. Overarching energy is the Five of Wands. There's just a lot of chaos surrounding this, a lot of positioning, a lot of posturing, grandstanding. Lesson to be learned is, you have a choice. You don't have to approve this budget the way it is. You don't have to take the power away from the courts. You can still have a healthy set of checks and balances. It's just, do you want to have it or not? You've chained yourself to this. You could take the chains off. What's the outcome? The outcome is the Sun. Basically, what I'm taking this to mean, I'm not getting a yes or a no so much as I'm getting whatever happens, it's going to be right out there in the open, and there's going to be no hiding it. This is the corruption is out in the daylight. The decisions are out in the daylight, and that could be part of the problem they're having is they're not, the secrets that were buried in there are coming to light, and they need to decide, if they want to continue down this path, because the voters are going to figure it out. So I don't have a good feeling on that. And when I say that, what I mean is I hope that it gets pulled out or neutered or something. It could just be a bargaining chip and that's in there. Okay, well, you could take that out, but then that means you need to leave in these tax breaks for corporations and make them permanent. It could just be simply a bargaining chip. We'll see how that goes. There's going to be a lot of senatorial debating and adjustments to this budget. It's definitely going to look different. Now we're going to pivot. Trump had a meeting with Tim, I believe it's Tim Cook, or Tim Apple from Apple, as Trump called him. And basically Trump told Tim that if you don't start, I want you to make iPhones that are for sale in the United States. They need to be manufactured in the United States. And if you don't manufacture them in the United States, they're going to face a 25% tariff. Now, there's some question as to whether Trump can actually apply a tariff to a company. And it's a US-based company, in fact, too, which is really odd. If that's even a thing, right? But he's threatening it, and he's threatened other companies, I guess, in the past with this, and it's always been just talk, because I think mostly the companies have tried their best to comply with Trump. But Apple lost $100 billion in market cap, which is basically, if you take all the shares of stock that are out being traded and the change in value, the reduction in value because Trump now wants to throw tariffs on Apple, and it cost Apple $100 billion. That threat cost Apple $100 billion in market cap. And, Apple has been diversifying their production. They still produce about 85% of their phones in China, but they've been diversifying out into India and Vietnam as well. And I guess they felt that that would be enough to sort of help shield them from Trump's tariffs. But Trump is basically changing the rules, saying that if you don't produce them in the United States, I'm going to hit you with tariffs anyways. The other problem is that, in order to build the iPhones in the United States, you got to build a manufacturing plant, and you got to train the workers, and you got to do all that, right? And there were some estimates that it would take about 5 to 10 years for Apple to transition production to the United States, and that basically the cost of these phones would probably triple. The number that they were throwing out there is $3,500 for an iPhone. So it could be 3 or 4 times what the current price is of an iPhone, right? And then Apple put out guidance that they're expecting a $900 million quarterly headwind. Okay, what that translates to is the impact of the tariffs on sales is going to cost us about $900 million in a quarter, in the upcoming quarter. So that's going to cause this stock price to go. So, now Trump's picking a fight with Apple. He's picked the same exact fight with Mattel, because Mattel was doing the same thing Apple was doing, where they were diversifying production away from China to like Vietnam and some other countries, but that wasn't good enough. Trump wants manufacturing back in the United States. And, the thing that Trump doesn't quite get is that in order for the companies to make a similar profit, if they manufacture in the United States, that means the wages that the workers in the United States are getting paid have to be roughly equivalent to what they're paying in overseas. So I don't know how many U.S. workers want to work for $3.50 an hour making phones or making toys. There's a reason why those jobs went overseas in the first place. So and then of course he's picking his fight with Walmart. So let's see, how are the U.S. oligarchs, the heads of Apple, the C-level executives of Apple, Mattel, and Walmart, these guys that have been really supportive of Trump, how are they feeling about this right now? Okay, so foundation of the reading of the Page of Pentacles. Well, they've been trying to find ways to save money, the creative ways to preserve capital, to sort of appease Trump, but at the same time make their profits that their shareholders demand. The cross is, the challenge is the 3 of Cups. They were celebrating Trump's victory. This is what they voted for. They wanted Trump because he's good for business. Well, Trump is Trump. There's the devil card again. You signed up for this, guys. These are supposedly very intelligent people that are running these companies. You signed up for this. You fucked around, and now you're finding out. In the past, Ace of Cups, they were very happy that Trump won, very surprised that Trump won. But hey, this is going to be great news for everybody. Current energy is the 10 of Cups. We should be like one big happy family, Trump's in office. Business are going to get their tax, the reduction in the income tax that they're paying is going to become permanent. What a great opportunity to make lots of money. The problem is Trump's tariffs are starting to destroy this happy family. These tariffs are almost a guarantee that the economy is going to tank. Overarching energy is the Knight of Cups, the false friend. This is Trump just basically saying, trust me, trust that there's going to be a little short-term pain, but everything's going to be much, much better in the long run. Just trust me. Here, have a drink out of this. Have some Diet Coke. So it's kind of that false friend. The lesson to be learned is judgment. Just like we were doing with the courts, in this case, it wasn't the current energy. It's the lesson to be learned is that, you fucked around and you're finding out. Your shareholders are going to find out too. This is going to be a bloodbath if you just roll over and accept this. you need to push back. Stand up and be counted. The outcome strength. You need to show your strength. You need to, however you need to do it. If you are the head of Apple, Mattel, Walmart, any of these big corporations, and you're going to get slammed with tariffs, they're going to pass those costs along, and they need to be strong, and they need to push back on this administration, and as patiently or impatiently as they can, let it be known what this is going to do to their bottom line, to this economy. If you have big tariffs, people can't afford your stuff. If people can't afford your stuff, they can't buy it. If you cannot sell your goods, you're going to have layoffs. If you have layoffs, those are more people on the government dole collecting Social Security, which puts a strain on the government. And guess what? It's a vicious cycle. It just starts spinning downhill from there. It's going to keep spiraling as more people are out of work and people get more frightened about their financial future. They start to conserve their money, and you go into a recession and possibly a depression, depending on how severe it is. It's funny. Everything Trump touches dies from a business perspective, and now he's doing it to the largest economy in the world. Hooray! Yay us! Okay, and I want to do one more quick read. I want to read on AOC. Dave and I were talking at dinner, and he's going, he's feeling like his politics need to shift even further left. And it's funny because I was kind of feeling the same way the other day. Jasmine Crockett had come out and with some criticism of the leadership of the Democratic Party, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially saying that they're looking for the safest white man that they can possibly get to nominate for president in 2028. And I was reading an article yesterday where James Carville was saying that I guess he's like a Democratic strategist. He goes, the one candidate he would be on board immediately for would be AOC. And I thought, what? I think maybe it's time for AOC to step forward. She's old enough to run for office. She's 35. She's got a good reputation, and she is definitely the boogeyman when it comes to MAGA. AOC is the boogeyman. She and Bernie and Tim Walz are out there doing town halls and getting in front of these folks that are being impacted by Trump's budget and his tariffs and all his decisions on migrants and stuff. And the Republicans don't show up for their own town halls, but AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Tim Walz are showing up. And they're listening, and they're letting the Republicans feel that are impacted by this. The more rural Republicans are feeling like they're heard. So I just want to get the energy around AOC and how is she looking as far as a presidential candidate for 2028? Now we are so far out in front of this right now. So this is just for shits and giggles for me. Okay, so foundation is the Seven of Pentacles. Hey, lot to offer, lot of potential there. It's something to think about. The cross is the Three of Wands. It's a long ways away. It's over 3 years away. You got the primaries and you got the run. There's a lot that can happen in those 3 years. Underneath it, you got the King of Pentacles. This could be one of two things. It could be, can she get the financial backing from the wealthy donors to the Democrats? Or it could just be rich American oligarchs who are scared shitless of AOC will do whatever they can to make sure she's not the one that gets the nod. In the past, she's the strength card. She's shown a lot of strength. She's shown a lot of patience. This line could easily be a town hall in a Republican district, and she's going in there and she's listening and she's being strong. But you see, this kind of strength, she's not forcing the lion to open its mouth. She's being very nurturing and caring and getting the lion to open its mouth for her. The current energy is the Knight of Swords, going out there and just getting it done. You know what? This is kind of a take no prisoners. And what Dave was saying was that they're saying that the next generation of the progressive Republicans are going to be more like this. It's going to be no shits, no fucks left to give. They're going to be a lot more, not ruthless, but a lot more passionate and driving towards their goals. They're not going to play nice in the sandbox like the Democrats have been playing. They're going to be a lot more forceful. Overarching areas, the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, it's too far out to tell. Anything can happen. The lesson to be learned is the Queen of Cups. Right now, just, try and keeping your emotions in check. There's a lot of really bad things going out there. And AOC was quoted in an article saying, once the MAGA Republicans understand what's in this budget and they feel the impact, there's going to be consequences. And she's right. So right now, she's just keeping her cool. She's pointing out that there should be a sword somewhere in here. Maybe like the Queen of Swords saying, this is what you voted for. This is what you're getting. So right now, not happy, but she's keeping her cool. Outcome is the Seven of Swords. So this could be, the Republicans don't want, the Republicans certainly don't want her, and they'll attack her whatever way they can to prevent her from basically gaining momentum. But I think that's all I'm getting on this is the Republicans aren't happy about it. Or what this could be is she's seeing how the Republicans are taking away rights. They're taking away jobs. They're taking away the checks and balances of the government. How they're stealing everything in order to stay in power. They haven't gotten everything. They've gotten a lot of things, and they're trying to get away with a whole bunch, but they're leaving some stuff behind. And that's the stuff that hopefully will help save us and prevent us from going down this hole that we're currently finding ourselves in. So that's what I got. Just a little potpourri of stuff. Dave and I will come up with some interesting, I'm sure far more fun and interesting topics over the weekend. But anyways, I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. I really appreciate you guys sticking here with me. If you like these videos, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. We put out a new video every night at midnight Pacific time. And leave a comment. I read them all, respond to many. And to prove that, I've got a couple of shout outs. So I'd like to give a shout out to Linda Myville, who made a very kind contribution to the channel. Thank you so much, Linda. And Queen of Swords. Yeah, you tell them, Linda. Tell them how it is. They'll listen to you. Elaine Venditti, who wanted a shout out for Kamala, her little macaw. So there you go. Ace of Pentacles. Give Kamala a nice little treat. And then finally to Pam H., who said she never got a shout out on Romper Room. So hi, Pam H. I don't have a mirror in here, but we'll give you the Two of Cups. So we'll start that relationship now. So many heartbroken people who didn't get shout outs on Romper Room. And for the rest of us, I like this card, the secret card. Secret card is the Ace of Swords. Yes. It's time for a new truth. It's time to start showing our strength here. This is, we're in turbulent times. I guess this is what we're supposed to go through. I'm completely confident that a large portion of this really shitty budget is going to go through. And you know what? It's just what we need to suffer through for MAGA to start finding out. And it just sucks, that the rest of us have to go through it too. So I apologize. I know there's a lot of people out there hurting. I'm very nervous about their health care and their SNAP and their housing. And just take it one day at a time. There's really nothing we can do. So just prepare the best you can. Take it one day at a time. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, folks. Bye.